Okay, it is 9 o'clock on my computer, so in the interest of time and being respectful of your time, I'm going to go ahead and jump in and get started. My name is John Sharp, and I am the ed tech at Tempe High School. And Melissa Schaefer is joining me today. She is at, not Desert Vista, good Lord. I completely drew a blank.
I'm at Mountain Point.
Mountain
That's
Point,
okay.
yeah, sorry.
I'm right there with you.
Lord, I'm so sorry, Melissa. She is at Mountain Point, and she's joining me today. And she's going to be my second. She's going to chime in every once in a while to kind of add some additional information. But she's also here to support me and to answer questions as we are going through the coursework today. So if you have a question, if there's an open time, you can unmute yourself and ask that question, or you certainly can add it to the chat up in the right-hand corner, and we will try to field every single question and make sure you get everything answered today. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by presenting my screen. Again, what I'll do is I will put the instructions to join the Schoology course. If you have not already done so, it's in the chat section, and that will give you the instructions and the access code to join the Schoology course. Okay? If you have not muted yourself, I ask that you do mute yourself just so we can keep the feedback to a minimum. Okay? So what I'm going to do is let's jump in and present. And I do want to tell you one thing, teachers. I know you're feeling a lot of anxiety about the upcoming school year. I think we all are for one reason or another. And I know you're feeling a little uneasy about the live lesson type thing. We're going to do our absolute best as ed techs to support you in that endeavor too. So we'll all get through this together, okay? So the anxiety that you're feeling right now, we're all feeling that. And I don't mean to minimize that in any way, but just know that we'll take it day by day and we'll work through it and we'll get through this together, okay? All righty, so I'm going to jump in, and this is what the Creating Robust Discussions Using Videos, Images, and Articles, this is the longest title ever, but oops, let me admit somebody, okay? So what I wanted to do is just kind of give you an overview of what a course looks like if you have not logged in already. There is a brief description at the beginning, along with some teacher expectations. This is a 1-hour webinar today, so if you choose to participate only in this 1-hour webinar, once you complete the discussion and survey, at the end, you would receive that 1-hour credit. If you want to receive an additional 1 hour, if you look down here, there is a part 2 discussion board application project. I'll tell you, it's super easy, and it probably won't even take you an hour. So I would recommend that you do that discussion board application project, because not only would you receive that additional hour, but you would also have 2 assignments that you can use in the first few weeks of school. So I think it would be really great practice. We have some templates that we're going to share with you today during this course, and those should make it super easy for you to complete these application projects, okay? So if you look here, it's kind of broken into 2 parts. Part 1 is going to be the webinar information that we're going to be sharing with you today. And then part 2, if you choose to do that additional 1 hour, you would want to click on that. And what that does is it just kind of gives you an overview and some examples of how you could create your own discussion boards, and then you'll have your application assignment, okay? And what you'll be doing in this application assignment is just creating 2 different discussion boards that relate to the content that you're going to be teaching in the first few weeks of school. And again, you can use the templates, which I'll show you, and you can manipulate them just a little bit to make it fit your content, and then you're good to go. And again, you'll have those 2 discussion boards to use with your classes. Okay, so that is what the application project is about. What we'll do right now is we're going to jump right into the webinar portion, and I am going to just go through this information with you. Let's keep this really informal. If you have questions, either unmute yourself or put them in the chat, and we'll make sure that everybody's questions get answered. And let me jump into the webinar agenda. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the online discussion board, just going to give you a tiny bit of background, and then I want to give you some strategies that you can use in your classroom. Now, these strategies are not specific to English or math or science. They can be used in any discipline, okay? So that's why I picked these 6 particular strategies to go over with you today. And then if you have not created a discussion board in Schoology, I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I'm going to show you how to use the templates that we have developed for you for the discussion boards. And for the last thing, I'll show you how to add a rubric to your discussion. And then we'll do a quick wrap up, which will be just a 2 or 3 minute reflection for you on the webinar content and your feedback survey, okay? We really try to be as flexible as possible with you, but there are some things that teaching and learning is requiring, and that is the discussions and the feedback survey, just so that we can collect some data on these learning experiences for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump right in. Again, let's keep it informal. If you have a question, just go ahead and unmute or put it in the chat. And I really appreciate that Melissa is here to support me. So thank you, Melissa. Okay. So welcome to the discussion board of the 21st century. If you've tried using a discussion in your Canvas course or in your Schoology course before, and you felt like it really wasn't a very good experience, hopefully today will give you some strategies to kind of build in some specific strategies that will make your discussion board more robust and will provide more collaborative experiences, okay? So really, the discussion board has a lot of power. I use it in my ASU courses all the time because it's a great opportunity for students to interact with each other, to build that learning community, and also to provide experiences, open-ended experiences where they can interact with each other and think critically and problem solve. So the benefits, I pretty much just said them. They are great for helping to build an online community. If we end up starting online, and for many teachers that will be a reality, this can be a great way to have students interact with each other. Using the discussion board, you can have them introduce themselves. You can use digital tools like Flipgrid or Padlet in order to help students kind of engage with each other using a digital tool. Those can be really fun. They can also promote deeper thinking and research on topics. Because if you're having a discussion that's face-to-face in your classroom, a lot of times students need to really think on the fly in order to participate in that. With an online discussion, they can kind of look at the prompt and think about it a little bit before they go ahead and respond. So it gives them a little bit of time to think about what they're going to say before they respond. It definitely can stimulate learning by encouraging students to share their work and respond to others. And I'll show you some strategies that you can use to do that. And you can build in opportunities for them to think more deeply, to research and to research the topic before they respond. And it also gives them an opportunity to practice their writing skills. So the prompts that I'm going to share with you today and the strategies are activities that you will see at the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. And that's absolutely where we want them to be when they are participating in an online discussion. Okay, so the purpose of today's webinar is really to help you create purpose in your online discussion forum. There are many different ways that you can do that. We want them to be able to obviously demonstrate knowledge of key concepts, and that would be why we follow up with a discussion after you have presented the content. It can be an opportunity to build community, especially in their first few weeks of school. It's an opportunity for reflection, not only to reflect on the content, but to really think about their thinking. So we're building in metacognition here too. It's an opportunity to build consensus and collaboration in your classroom, but you have to be strategic in the prompts that you're providing there. And again, I'll show you some strategies, an opportunity for critical thinking. And most people wouldn't think that it's an opportunity to build student leadership, but if you think about it, it really can be a strong mechanism for doing that. You might have some students in your classroom, in the face-to-face classroom, that would never respond to a discussion or even raise their hand. That's my daughter, Caitlin. She's very shy, and she chooses not to participate a lot of time in the classroom. With the online discussion forum, it actually provides a different opportunity for them because they're not pressured to answer the question right away. And because it's in an online format, they feel a little more comfortable speaking up and actually conveying their thoughts and ideas. It can also be a great opportunity if you have a student moderate the discussion board. Rather than the teacher always moderating the discussion board, you can assign that role to students. And you can break them into groups, so there's one student leader in those groups to do that. And it's also an opportunity to assign a student a summary, the role of summarizing what the salient points of the discussion were. Because what happens a lot of times is that teachers will develop a discussion board, and you might even get some really robust discussion. Sometimes you might not. But what happens is once that conversation dies, everything kind of dies with it. So what I recommend to teachers is that they use that opportunity to summarize the key points that were brought up in that discussion board and to have a quick discussion with your group after that discussion board has been closed to kind of talk about that. It's a really great way to summarize the key points, okay? So I encourage you to do that and not just let the discussion die. So what I'm going to do is I just want to stop there for a quick second and see if there's any questions so far.
I have a quick question.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I don't like about discussion board is that I get notifications for all dozens of people that I don't know that are in the courses that I'm in.
Okay.
And so I typically don't really know if anyone even responded to mine. I think you can go back and look at the grade and see if someone else discusses, but it gives me anxiety when all my notifications keep blowing up and I'm like, I want to just filter it down so that like I can just see my discussion. Is that
Okay.
possible?
You absolutely can. Number one, Janet, I would encourage you to check the settings on your Schoology because you probably don't want a notification every time a student submits an assignment. You'll go into the crazy house. So definitely, if you want to stick around, I can show you how to change your settings for your notifications afterwards. But you definitely can filter down so that it's just your section in your class. So you're not seeing more than one section at a time when you're grading. And I'm going to show you a little bit later in this webinar what it looks like from a teacher's perspective in terms of grading, okay? So if you can hang tight for just a little bit, I'll show you how to do that. There are some situations where if you do turn off your notifications, sometimes you still receive them. But for the most part, like I've been really successful in turning most of my notifications off. And if we have a little bit of time at the end, I can show everyone how to change those settings, okay? All right. How many of you have used a discussion board before in your courses? If you could give me like with a thumbs up. And okay, so I see a lot of people have actually used them. Now give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on how your experience was with that discussion. Was it, okay, I see some thumbs down. Okay, and some kind of neutral too. Okay, that's good. Not good, but I'm hoping that the strategies that we present to you today will be interactive and will give you an idea of how you can kind of really promote some critical thinking in those discussions and make it more robust, okay? And for those of you that have never used it, welcome to the discussion board and hopefully you'll get some strategies here today. Again, I'm gonna jump back in. And what I'm gonna do is, in the webinar section, I'm going to kind of skip this. I've talked about most of the ways we're going to build critical thinking. Also, in the strategies that I'm going to show you, I will also kind of go over some of these bullet points here and how they help you to build more robust discussions. Okay. One of the most important parts of your discussion is the prompt. And I'm actually going to jump out of this presentation and go directly to the resources section where I have this. The way that you build your prompts really can determine how successful your discussion board is, okay? So you need to provide open-ended type questions that are going to make students really think deeply and that are also going to make them have to do some additional research, okay? They might be able to convey their viewpoint, but even if they convey their viewpoint, you're going to want them to support it with facts, okay? So there are different types of questions that you can use in the discussion board. And some of these I'm going to go over right now. And as I do that, I want to show you that there's some examples for each one. The exploratory type questions are the type that you really are probing facts and checking for basic knowledge, okay? And some examples of that are, is gun ownership an important American right, okay? Is eating and growing food locally really better for the environment? So students, you can see that students might be able to answer some of these questions with some of their background knowledge, but they're also going to have to do some additional research. And in that step, you want them to be doing that research and actually citing their sources, because that is how they're going to have to dig deeper in these types of questions and act, to provide some really robust information and sharing with their fellow classmates. Some challenge questions are where you're providing them with opportunities to really interrogate assumptions, to draw conclusions, or to interpret what you've provided to them. And when we go through the different types of video, images, and articles, you can provide some really great articles that are going to help them to, that'll help you to pose some challenge questions. And some examples of this might include, there are no lessons to be learned from history. Well, we obviously know that there are some lessons to be learned. So we would challenge them to come up with some examples and provide those in their prompt. And again, they would have to support those examples with research that they found online. We are free, and we can completely free in thinking and behaviors and actions. We know that we're not, that we have to follow some rules that are set for us by society. So these are really, you can see that they're really open-ended type questions that are going to have to make students think deeply about the content. I like relational questions. So you're asking for comparison of themes, ideas, or issues. Relational are great for like literature reviews. So if you have done two novels in a given semester, you would have students compare the themes or ideas or issues that that they can compare with the two novels. But it doesn't have to be just about literature. It can be about science. It can be about sustainability, how you see overlapping issues in your health class, or obviously we could use COVID right now, but I'm trying not to use that example for anything because I'm just sick to death of looking at that content. So you can see that you can ask for comparison of themes, ideas, and issues by using relational type questions. You can use diagnostic questions that kind of probe motives or causes. So for example, what is Elon Musk's motive for developing technology to send travelers to Mars? Is it all about money, or is he truly interested in providing a one-of-a-kind experience for individuals? So you're really probing to see if your students can respond to these questions in a deeper way. We've got some action questions, and that can be a call for a conclusion or an action. If you're teaching a CTE class, in developing your business plan, what obstacles would you anticipate and who might be willing to help you? So you're giving them some opportunities, again, to think very deeply and to come up with some strategies. Cause and effect are great. You're asking for causal relationships between ideas, actions, and events. So an example of that would be what leads to homelessness and what economic problems does it bring about? Okay. What are some critical effects of gender inequality in the United States? Wow, that's a real controversial topic. And that, as you could see, that could build some really robust discussion in your classroom. Okay. Extension questions are, if you were to give them a scenario and you changed it up, you can kind of build these two in together, the extension questions and the hypothetical questions, where you give them a scenario and then you pose a change in the facts, and then they have to come up with a solution to that scenario. I'm really big on scenarios and simulations and case studies, because you can give them a situation. It doesn't have to be a super long situation, and then they have to come up with a solution to that situation. What you're trying to do in that is not have one possible solution, but provide them with a scenario that can give them multiple opportunities to come up with solutions to that. You can also give them priority questions, where you give them a set of priorities and they have to put them in order in terms of their priority and in terms of their personal views and values. And you have to make sure that they are supporting that with facts and with research. And then finally, summary questions can be a great way to summarize and elicit synthesis of information. So if you're providing a discussion at the end of a unit, you can have them summarize thoughts and information that you have presented throughout that unit. I know that was a lot to think about in there. So I want to check in with you to see if you have any questions about these different prompts and the way you can use them. So I always, so let me go in.
Yeah, John, this is Melissa, and we had just a couple questions. One is, people are wanting to know if they're going to get access to the different templates and such in the course, and I said that they would. You
absolutely will.
And then when you describe how to build a course, they wanted to know, we had questions about students. There is a setting under options when you create your discussion assignment that students cannot see other posts until they post theirs first.
That is absolutely correct. So when I go to show you, right. So when I go to show you how to create a discussion board, I'll show you all of the different settings that you can use in the bottom, okay? Before you go ahead and post the discussion. So I can absolutely do that, Grigor. All of this information, which I'll show you quickly, I'm just going to jump back into the course. And if you look at the main page of the course, if you look at the main page of the course, down here in the yellow file, supplemental resources, if you click on that, and then you click on the pink file, it will give you all of the information that I'm talking about in these slides today, but in a lot more depth. It'll give you specific examples. So if you look here, there's a great article about building critical thinking in a discussion. So what this does is it just takes this webinar content to a deeper level. You'll see the questions that I just asked, and it talks about how to incorporate blooms in there. This is the strategies that I'm going to talk with you about today. There's actually 10 strategies in the resource section, but I'm only going to talk with you about 6 today, just in the interest of time. But if you do have time, I really encourage you to take a little bit to look in this resources file, because it'll give you some amazing sources of information, some ideas, and some great strategies in addition to what I'm presenting today, to really make your discussion boards robust, okay? So a good question. You definitely want to, in your instructions, and if you look at our templates, we give instructions on the number of sentences, a recommended number of sentences that you can use for the initial post, and the number of sentences that you would use for the the peer response. Okay, so I'll show you that when we go in there. Okay. Jill, when we get to the strategies, you'll see that some of them can definitely be used for a math environment. Okay, so I'm going to jump back in. I hope I've answered all of the questions so far. If I haven't, just unmute yourself, and I'll try to answer everything. Okay, I'm going to go back, and the next slide is the actual strategies for developing 21st century. We're going to talk about the great debate, some images, role play, case study simulation, controversial topic, gallery walk with reflection. Now, usually when I'm teaching a course like this, I want there to be more interaction, but unfortunately there's a lot of content in this course, so I will try to check in with you to answer questions, but I was not able to build in as much interactivity in this one as I normally do, okay? So I apologize for that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the strategies for each of these, and I'm gonna give you a few examples that you could possibly use with these strategies. So I'm gonna jump right in. And again, just jump in, turn off your mic, and let me, and lay the questions on me as I'm going through, okay? So the great debate strategy. I like this one a lot. It's a little bit more difficult to do it with a whole class. So when I do the debate strategy, I like to build smaller groups and put maybe 3 to 5 students in each group, and I'll show you how to create groups in your discussion. And what that does is allows them to interact with each other in a debate type format. So they have to organize their thoughts clearly to a prompt that you're giving them. They have to make sure that they are presenting an argument that is cohesive and convincing. So what they might do is you'll provide them with a prompt, and they have to choose a particular viewpoint on that topic. So what they would do is they would research the topic, they would post their viewpoint or argument supported with evidence, and then they would wait for a response from a peer with an opposing viewpoint. And then finally, the person that did that initial post would do a rebuttal. So it'd be much like a debate that you would experience in your class, where the student would provide their initial argument, there would be a response to that argument, and then a rebuttal. Some examples that you could use for this great debate are, does technology get in the way of student learning, or does it help? Okay, we all have opinions on that, but we would expect that a student, if they were to take the pro argument, that they would support their viewpoint with research, and the same with the counter argument. Okay, GPA, is it an outdated way of evaluating student performance? Is sex education useful for high school students? Okay, so you can see that if you create those types of prompts that make students think deeply and take one side of a situation, they certainly can do research to support their viewpoint, okay? And that can be successfully done in the large group of a discussion board, but it can be more successfully done by creating smaller groups, okay? Okay, this is one that most people don't really think of. I love this, and I've used this in my ASU classes a couple times, and students really seem to get a kick out of it. It's, instead of requiring them just to respond with text, they also respond with images to support their viewpoint and the text. Okay, so for example, I teach a sustainability course, and one of the things we talk about in that course is marketing, okay, and how it impacts sustainability. And not only do I require them to provide a response to the prompt, but I also make them show pictures. And this is an example that one of my students gave me about marketing and how that could impact sustainability in the course, okay? So they're not only providing me a text response, but also a visual to go along with that. And the beauty with images is when they post that to the discussion board, their peers are more likely to look at that response, number one, and they're also more likely to think more deeply about the response that they might have to that student, because when they see something, they're more able to understand it. you have 65% greater retention than with text alone. So images can be extremely powerful. And it certainly does leverage a different technology to kind of help solidify the insights on a topic. And it really can draw attention to real world examples, like as in this example right here. So this example probably isn't one of the greatest ones because students can't go out right now for the most part. But if they were able to, they could visit a retail store and find 10 to 12 examples that demonstrate how marketing influences consumer purchasing decisions. Okay, so you can see how imaging can really be a powerful way for students to think more deeply about their content. Strategy 3, I use this quite a bit too in my ASU classes. What I might do is provide them with a case study or simulation. And then what I do is I put them into smaller groups and I assign a role to each one of them. Sometimes I'll let them choose the role, but sometimes I assign them. But what it does is it helps them to think of the content more deeply from a different person's viewpoint or lens of another person's perspective. And what they have to do is not only look at that person's perspective, but also to provide support of that perspective. So if you assign them, like if you were reading a text in maybe Romeo and Juliet, I always seem to bring that one up, or some other type of literature, you can assign them the role of a specific person in that, or a general role of maybe a population in there. So if you were reading A Tale of Two Cities, you might have royalty as part of the role play. You might have an individual that plays part of the bourgeoisie, or someone that plays someone that lives in poverty during the French Revolution. So you can see that they have to take on a perspective of that individual, and it helps them to really think what it would look like walking in that person's shoes. Okay, an example that I do in my sustainability course is the impact of climate change on the environment. And what I'll do is give them the roles, different roles of maybe a CEO of an automobile company, or an EPA representative, or the mayor of a city, or just the resident of a city, because everybody's going to look at that from a different perspective. And when they share that information with their peers, that gives them a really great opportunity to look at various perspectives of a specific issue. Okay. I'm going to stop there because I've already covered 3. I just want to talk with you about the great debate and the images and role play to see if you have any questions about those so far.
I know there was a lot of discussion on having kids in small groups, and I was on another webinar and they said that you can do small groups within Schoology on conferencing. Is that already available but not our favorite method, or like what are we looking into for that?
You can do the groups in the conferences. It's called the Big Blue Button in Schoology. So you can have breakout rooms in there. There are some limitations to using that tool. But what we are currently doing as EdTechs, we're actually meeting and we're trying out different tools. We're actually going to be working on breakout rooms that can be used with Google Meet. And what we're trying to do is explore the best tools and the best options for teachers so that we can share that information with you before school starts. For example, we're testing a couple ways to take attendance in class. We're also testing a couple ways to break out students into groups using Google Meet. And what we're going to do is once we have that, we due diligence and we find the best options, we're going to share all of that with you so that those resources are available to you. Some of these have just become available, and that's why we've just started looking at them now. But I promise you we will share those resources and kind of some best practices in using them in your Google class or in the Google Meet sessions, okay?
And I want to jump in really quick. The Big Blue Button that we have in Schoology, I honestly don't recommend it. It has limitation where things only last 7 days for video. You can only have so many sessions. I think it's 5 going at a time across the district. So I would not count on that. And again, like John said, we are testing out quite a few of the different group things. A lot of them, they sound great. And once you start using them, they're not great at all. But we're getting close, and to a few that we think would be really useful. And so we will definitely send that out to everyone because it's a great option to have.
Okay, I'm going to field a couple questions here. Zoom, is Google Meet or Zoom preferred? That is completely up to you, okay? I think Google Meet is a little bit easier to use than Zoom. Right now, it might not be as robust because it doesn't have a built-in whiteboard, but Google is promising that that feature will be available to teachers by the time school starts. Okay, they just sent out a message a couple weeks ago giving us some ideas about some of the additional features that were going to be added prior to the start of the school year. Again, we are exploring those features so that we can share those with you. Google is, that was a good point. Gary just said he feels that Google Meet is more secure. And from a security standpoint, we do want that for our students and for ourselves. So I do like Google Meet. Again, I think it's really easy. It's fairly robust. It has what we need. And if you add the extensions that we're going to recommend, you'll have the ability to take attendance very easily. And also, if you can you see my right-hand side right now of my screen where all those people are here? When I push on people, what that's doing is it's taking attendance. So when I go in here, and I know I'm digressing here, but I want to make you guys feel more confident about what kind of tools will be available to you. You'll see that when I pushed the button just now, that took a full list of every single person that is attending this webinar right now. So really, all you have to do is push the people button here and it automatically is taking attendance for you. So that takes the worry away from having to take screenshots of students in here to make sure that you're making sure that they're all attending this. What I have seen is it has been extremely accurate. We tried another attendance, which was not nearly as user-friendly and not as accurate. So I'm very pleased with this one, and we will share it with you. Okay.
I'm sorry, I have a question about the attendance.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you monitor that students are there for the whole session or not?
Yes, you can. You have to push the people button, a couple times throughout the session. So what I would recommend is you're doing it every once in a while, just hit that people button and it automatically takes roll. Okay. So you can do it at the beginning, middle, and end so that you know that, you can compare them very easily to see what students may have started but did not stay for the entire lesson. Okay, unfortunately, this does not speak with Synergy, so you would have to take attendance and put the attendance in Synergy. Sorry about that. One really important point that I want to make here, I know you guys have heard that there is a possibility of using Google Classroom. We are not using Google Classroom as a district. We do not want to have two LMSs running concurrently. It's too confusing for teachers to do that. And from a support standpoint, we just cannot support using Google Classroom from an ed tech standpoint, using Google Classroom and Schoology, okay? So our support will be with Schoology only. So Janet, that's a really great question. All I did was add this extension, the Meet Attendance extension, to my Google Chrome. And every time I open up a meeting, all I have to do is click on that Meet Attendance up there in the corner, and it automatically populates into this session of Google Meet. And then when I'm ready to take attendance, again, I'll just click on People, and it automatically takes attendance. You see that the numbers are adding right there. And then when I'm done, I click on that little button there, and you'll see that it took attendance again just now. Okay. I know this is really important to you, but we probably should jump back in to the discussions part. And again, I will stay as long as you need to after this discussions course, and I'll answer any and all questions that you have, as long as you need me to say. Okay? Janet, did I answer your question, or did you have? Okay, great. So what I'm going to do, it does not talk to Synergy, Laura. I'm sorry. I wish it did. And I'll even show you the attendance extension and how you can get that added to your Google Chrome before we leave today. Okay. Okay. You know what, Kylie, I agree. My children go to a school that uses Google Classroom, and it is not nearly as robust as Schoology, okay? So there are some really important features that are not available in Google Classroom that are in Schoology, okay? And again, we just can't support two separate LMSs, okay? All right, I'm gonna jump back in. If there are no questions about using the Great Debate, images, or the third one, which is role play, we'll jump back in. Can you guys see the value in using some of these strategies in your classroom? Okay, good. I see a lot of head shaking, so I'm hoping, yay, great, thank you. So I'm gonna jump back in, we'll take a look. Sorry, I've got so many tabs open here. Again, oh, strategy 4, I'm sorry. I had so many tabs open, I losing it. So strategy 4, these are awesome for building critical thinking and problem solving skills. And what we really want to be doing is having students apply what they're learning from the content and applying it to real world situations. That's what they're going to need to be able to do when they get outside of high school and get outside of college. They're going to have to be able to do that on a daily basis in their jobs. So what you can do with these case studies or simulations is give them a situation that they're going to have to respond to. You can use a controversial situation. You could give them an opportunity to come up with some solutions to a really complex issue, maybe a sustainability issue, maybe an environmental issue, maybe it's an issue related to the COVID situation. You can make it relevant, and I encourage you to really apply it to current events that are going on in their world right now. So if they can apply a real world situation, all the better, okay? And an example of that would be a group of teachers and administrators grapple with how to discipline a student who's posted a nasty meme on a classmate's social media feed. Should sharing a violent meme be treated differently than other violent speech? Okay, so you're making them, again, think about the situation. Maybe you give them a role play where you give them, one of them is the student that posted the nasty meme. One of them is the one that received it. In that situation, they're having to look at that perspective or look at that situation from a different perspective. So these don't have to be in isolation. You can kind of mix these strategies together in multiple ways, okay? A controversial topic. These are really great for building robust discussion in a classroom. The only thing is when you do it, I strongly encourage you to talk about the importance of online etiquette, set specific guidelines for responses so that everybody's viewpoints, ideas, and values are respected and honored, okay? And we do have some information in our templates course that gives you some ideas that you can put in there for netiquette to set guidelines for your discussions. Some sample controversial topics. Do violent video games make people more violent in real life? Okay. A lot of gamers, including my kids, would say that's crap. But for some people, you know, they really take on that viewpoint that it does make more violent, people more violent in real life. Should schools be able to use corporal punishment? Are children of illegal immigrants entitled to education and healthcare? As you can see, this is really, these are topics that are really open-ended and are going to make them, again, think, take a side to the situation, and actually have to do some research to support their viewpoint. This gallery walk is great, and I love this. What happens a lot of times is that students work really diligently on an assignment, and then they submit it to a teacher, and that's the only person that ever sees their work. A gallery walk allows students to share their work, their presentations, their videos, their papers. This can be anything, their artwork, in a discussion board format where they can post their video, they can post their image of the work that they've done, and then have them actually reflect on the work a little bit, and then have their peers provide feedback, constructive feedback. So I love the gallery walk. This is not just for an art class. This can be for a science fair project. This can be for anything, for any discipline. This can be for math. You can have them discuss how they solved a problem and share it with their classmates. Okay, so gallery walk is really a cool way for them to share the work that they've done with their peers, and a great way to share with your colleagues too. So I'm going to stop there again, and I want to check in with you to see if you have maybe some possible strategies for how you could use those last ones, gallery walk or the case study simulation in your specific discipline.
I was going to modify my assignment where I have students construct models of brains, and then normally in the classroom we'd go around and give feedback, like a gallery kind of circle. So I'd have to come up with something like this. I think my only question is, so normally when I do this project, everyone gets to look at all the other designs. But then there's like a rapid fire question that each kid gets about one part of the brain. So they have to study it ahead of time and really know it. And I was wondering, would that just be something that would have to be separate through a Zoom or Google Meet, or could that be embedded somehow?
It can be embedded in there. You'd have to have the questions ready to go, and you could quickly respond to each one. That's a lot of work to rapid fire them, but it could be done in a discussion board, especially if you have them already the questions pre-made. You could quickly just go in, and I'll show you how to do that, how to respond to a student's discussion too, okay? It's not the be-all end-all solution that you're probably looking for, but this is, the gallery walk would be a great opportunity for them to present their brain to the class. So that's a really great idea, actually. Kylie, it sounds like you had some success with the gallery walk too. So I would encourage you all to try the gallery walk. It's just a really fun and cool way for students to share their work. Okay. Any other questions on those three? I know I kind of really went through them quickly. I want to jump in and show you how to create a discussion board now, and what it looks like from a student's perspective and what it looks like from a teacher's perspective.
Just a second, John, while you're in there, because I know there were some questions like with math. I saw this great idea. It's called Two Truths and a Lie in a Discussion. And it's where in classes, people would put up, I think it was like geometry, they put up like a triangle or a proof. And they said, based off this picture, write 2 truths and a lie about it. And then the students have to know, like their math, you could use maybe steps in a division problem of like what's correct or not correct about the math problem. So I thought that was really good.
That's a really good one.
For people, but you can do that for different subjects in history. So students have to go back and then they chat about what they think are the truths and the lie about the different problems or situation. I thought it was a really cool idea.
Yeah, that could be really fun with history, especially. Okay, thank you, Melissa, for that idea. That's a really good one. And we do have that as a template in our templates courses too. So you might want to check that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a discussion board. You can put it into a specific folder. So let's say this is your week 1 folder here. So I'm going to click on that week 1 folder, even though it says part 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a discussion by going to the top and adding materials. So you'll see that I'm adding discussion. And hopefully it will open. Okay, so I'm going to title this sample discussion. And this would be, the description would be the area. This is where you would provide your instructions. Oops, sorry. And prompt, okay? I'm gonna show you how to use our templates in just a minute, which will save you a gazillion hours of time throughout the school year, so I encourage you to use that. But I'm just gonna put instructions and prompt here. And then you have the ability to add a file. So if you wanted them to add an article, you could add an article here that would appear as an attachment. You can add a link that they could go to read an article. Sorry about that. I thought I had turned off my notifications. Sorry. And now I've got so many tabs open again. Apologize for that. So I'm going to go here and just close that. So what I've done is you can add a link if you want to pull something from your resource section, or if you want to create your own audio or video recording, you can add that here just by clicking on this. You can add an audio of your voice or an audio and video of your voice that they have to watch before they can respond. Okay, so some cool features there. You can also enable grading here. And what that does is would allow you to add a rubric. We do provide some basic rubrics in the templates that we provide, but you also can create your own unique rubric just by clicking on this, selecting create new, and you certainly can create your own rubric that you can use to grade the discussion board, okay? So if you're gonna make them spend a great deal of time putting the discussion together, I strongly encourage you to have a rubric because it also serves as a checklist for them so that they know that they've completed all the required elements, okay? Category, you would probably wanna put it under discussion. The period would just be the term that you're gonna use. You'll always wanna keep it factor as 1. This is where you have the ability to assign this to multiple sections, okay? So if you wanted to use this same discussion board in all 4 sections of your freshman English class, you could do that here. You could assign that here or assign it just to specific sections, okay? You can also align it to specific learning objectives. This is where you can create small groups, okay? If you wanted to individually assign, you can create individual grading groups for your students. And if you want to stay after, I can show you how to do that. And then you could click on individually assign, and then you could assign to a grading group. Let's see. I've got just individuals in here right now, but if I had a grading group, I could assign it to one group, then assign it to another group, and then assign it to another group. So it would be like a very small microcosm of that discussion board within a group. Okay, so that's how you can individually assign it. Okay, also, this is really handy dandy for a lot of, if you want to click on this, members can see other responses before participating. Okay, so you have the choice of making it so the student has to do their post first before they can see another individual's post, or you can make it so that it's open and they can just go in and create their discussion. So you have 2 options there. They can either have to create it before they see others, or they can just go in and create, okay? And this allows you to copy to a course, okay, to another course, all right? So that's how you create the discussion in Schoology. Again, you can put images in here, you can put videos in here, you can put links to articles in here, okay? And we're gonna show you how to do that shortly. What I wanna do is just show you an example of a discussion board that I had in one of my courses. Okay, so this is one of a discussion class that I had. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here, and you can see that students have already responded to this discussion. And if I scroll, you can see that there's been quite a few. Okay, the really cool thing about this is you can click on highlight user here, and you'll see the people that have already responded and the people that have not submitted yet. Okay, in this case, I did request that they have an initial post and a colleague or peer post. So you can see that Carly has done 2 posts, and chances are that she's done an initial post and a colleague post. So when I click on this, unfortunately, it's not as robust as Canvas was, where it showed you the initial post and the peer post right in one area. You have to scroll, but you'll see that you can see her peer post is right here and her initial post is right here. And if you do use a rubric, you can click on the side right here to grade it. You can click on the rubric icon here and it'll allow you to add comments, and it will also allow you to put a point score in there. Okay, so I would recommend that you either create your own rubric or use one that's been provided in the templates. Again, in order to see what responses have come in, you just click on this button right here. You can see who has already submitted and who has not, and the number of submissions. I'm going to stop there because I want to field any questions that you may have on that. Right.
So, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
How does a student check or see the feedback? And I'm asking because as a student through the webinars, we have all answered a bunch of discussion boards, and the truth is I haven't gone back into the courses, but how would I see as a student, the teacher saw it, they gave me feedback?
So what they would do is they would do it like they would do any other assignment. Like if you provided them with feedback on a paper that they've written, they could click on the grade book and then they would see those comments in there. But they also could visit the discussion board again, okay? And that might be one really good reason to pick a student or pick a couple students to summarize what was in the discussion board. And that way you know that they're going back in to look at some of their responses too, okay? Any other questions so far? I know we're getting, sorry, go ahead.
Can you show one more time how you grade response?
Absolutely. So going in there, so if I wanted to, I'm going to go to Carly's again. I'm going to pick on Carly a little bit, and then I'm going to go down to Carly's. I can see that this is her peer response because it flows underneath one of these initial responses, and this is her initial response to that. So I just click on this little icon right here to grade, and I can either put a comment in here if I'm not going to grade it, or I can click on that little icon and actually fill out the rubric. I can click on here, or I can click on any number, and then I can put a specific comment in there by clicking on that little comment bubble. Okay? Yes.
So you can do both, right? You can grade it and comment on it?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so the kids, do they get a notification when we actually make comments or not? Because
that's a very good question, Courtney. These kids are very savvy, and the first thing they do is they go into their notifications and they turn everything off because they don't want to hear from their teacher. Okay, so unfortunately, we can't turn on their notifications for them. So they're going to have to either check back in the discussion board area, or you could have a follow-up to the discussion, or they have to check their grade book in order to see those comments that you've provided.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, they're pretty good at turning off those notifications right away. Okay, so jumping back, we're perilously close, and I know we're going to go over just a few minutes, and I very much apologize for that, but I just want to make sure that everyone's able to get to the templates that we have available to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump just to my dashboard, which has a lot of courses on here that I've developed. And I want you, if you want to follow along, that's fine. But I'm going to click on resources here. And then I'm going to click on group. And in that resources and clicking on group, you're going to see in yours, you probably won't have as many here, but TUHSD Schoology templates. So when you click on that, it's going to take you and you're going to see all the different templates that are available to you. And a template really is just a way for you to start to building your course so that you don't have to start from scratch. We have quite a few start of the year course templates in there, which might be like introductions, might be your office hours, your weekly course structure, how you're going to set up your classes. So take a few minutes to really look in here and transfer them to your course so that you're not starting from ground zero or from scratch. Okay, I'm going to focus right now on the discussion board templates. So when I click on that and click on this, you're going to see that you have a lot of different options here for discussions. Now this course is focused on video, article, and the image right here. So I'm going to show all three of them to you. So when I click on this, it's kind of weird when you click on it in your resources section. It's just going to show you what it would kind of look like if you were to transfer it to your course. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make that transfer, and then I'm going to show you what it would look like. Okay, so if I decided that I wanted this discussion with video in my course, I'm going to click on that little cog to the right, and I'm going to say add to course. Okay, so you'll notice I'm going to have a ton of different courses that I could send this to. I'm going to send it to this discussion board course that I just created, okay? Or that you're in right now. And I'm not going to put it in a specific folder, and I'm just going to say add. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back to the course for a second, and I'm going to go to that front page because I didn't put it in any specific folder. And then I'm going to go down to the bottom, and you'll notice that it is already transferred here. At this point, this is the opportunity for you to edit it to your heart's content on what's important to you for this particular assignment. Okay, again, this is just a template, but it's a good start for you. This is just an introduction here, and then we've got the steps all broken down for you in terms of what the students should be able to do. We also provide a simple rubric that you can use to evaluate student work. Totally up to you if you want to keep it. You can delete it if you don't. But what we've done in each of these templates is we've highlighted the areas that we want you to think about revising specific to your topic. Okay, and then you could either insert a video link there or embed the video, but we're just giving you some ideas. Okay, so you can put the prompt here. This would be the student's initial response, and the peer response here. Again, we're just giving you some recommendations on the number of words that a student could use in the response. Okay, I want to jump to our, so I'm going to save those changes. And I can show you what a student would see if they were to click in there now. Okay. Again, these templates will save you a ton of time, so you're not starting from ground zero. And I also want to show you quickly, and I accidentally shut the link, but I want to show you in Schoology what it could possibly look like once you've made all those changes. So I'm going to go to our templates course. So if you've taken this templates course, there's quite a few examples on there. I'm just going to jump in and show you what the video example looks like. So you'll see in this example, the students have been watching A Tale of Two Cities. And then in the concept 1, 2, and 3, you're having them focus on specific areas that are going to be related to the prompt that you're going to provide them with lower. The really cool thing about embedding a video like this also is they can watch it right here in Schoology and not have to go to YouTube where they can get distracted and start listening to music and doing other things. So embedding it is really a great idea. You'll notice in step 1, they view the video. In step 2, they create their initial post. And in this case, I used a role play situation where they have to take on a role of an individual from the time of this movie in the French Revolution. And then the prompt here is describe a day in the life of your character. Okay, so you can see that this is really going to make them think deeply, and it's also going to make them have to support their response with ideas from the video. And then the third step is responding to that peer. Okay, again, we've provided a simple rubric in here that you can use, or you can create your own. All right, I'm just going to jump back to that, that template. Again, it's in the resource area and then in groups. And then you can pick what you want to look at, maybe, and we'll see if it loads for me in the templates. Again, going to discussions, and I have to tell you the image and the article work just the same as the video one did. The wording is very similar. For the article, you would just provide the link here rather than providing the video. And then you would provide your prompt here again, and then the peer response. Again, you have, in this case, you have a basic rubric, or you can choose to use the comprehensive rubric that is attached, okay? And again, to put that into your course, you just go to the cog next to that one particular, you say add to course, you select the course that you would like to add it to, and then you click on add, and it will automatically add that to your course where you are able to edit it. Now, I have been told that course shells are going to be loaded tomorrow, but if you wanted to get a head start, you could always put one of these into your Sandbox course, make the modifications, and then add it to your course shell once it becomes available. Okay, I know that was a lot. Again, I went to the resources and groups, and I showed you where the templates are. Please, please, please take some time to look at those templates. It's not for discussions only. It's for assignments, how to set up your course, how to get started in those first few weeks of school, developing your, and can you add your archive courses? I would recommend that you just wait until you get the course shell, then you can automatically put it over right into your course shell. Hopefully you will get that tomorrow, Laura. That's what I've been told. Any questions about those templates? Do you find that with a positive or neutral or negative, do you think that those templates will be helpful to you in your courses? Very good. Yes.
Well, I know the rubric is in the prompt. Are there rubric templates as well? Because when we create it, we have to like link it to the rubric as well.
There's a couple, Don, there's a couple in there where the comprehensive rubric is attached to it. If you are interested in the comprehensive writing rubric that I have, that I developed on my own, I am more than happy to share that with you. Just email me and I'll send it to you, okay? Or I'll put it in your course for you.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Any other